Hello, Patricia O'Connor and Frida Reba Darcy here. And it is Monday. Some of you may know of it as the great Facebook dying. But for me, just another tricky day in paradise. And it is really another really warm day. It's not quite as hot as it was yesterday, but all the trees are looking good. Everybody seems to be moving along to the next stage of whatever they're going to, and they all seem to be doing that stuff that they need to be doing. I thought at one point today that while I was going with Frida for a little walk, that we would collect acorns, because there's a coastal oak close to where we walk every day. It's the same coastal oak that supplies all the seedlings, not all the seedlings, the two seedlings that you've seen me try to dig up ahead of the landscapers, only to have them die in a little bonsai pot. So I think this year, I've always am really happy with the way they look, and I was really disappointed this year when one of them went for about 5 months and then died anyway. So I'm going, well, if a squirrel can accidentally grow me some little tiny trees that I then kill, surely I can start my own and kill them. So I thought that I would take a couple of little plastic bins with the walnuts that I was giving to the ducks and that I was cleaning the bonsai trees with. I thought that I would take a couple of those little leftover bins and go collect some acorns and then collect some cones, some seed cones from the Coastal Redwoods. This apartment complex used to have about a half a dozen really nice looking coastal redwoods, including one of them on the corner. And this past summer, a truck pulled up, and it might have been with the city, but for reasons that totally escape me, they took out a huge redwood. I mean, it was a couple of 100 years worth of tree there, and you get to see them here and there, but that one was one right there for everybody to enjoy. And then in the course of a day, it's no longer there. I'm really sad. But not less than 100 yards away are three others, and they're on our apartment property. So I did go by and try. I did go by our coastal oak, and I tried to collect some acorns, but I didn't see any. Now, there might have been a couple of reasons for that. I might have been there at the wrong time of year. I didn't see any in the making either, but nor did I see any old ones, so I'm not really sure. Maybe I better check my notes. But then we did a little meander, which is old speech for walk, over to the California Coastal Redwoods, and I was able to get a haul of little cones. Let me show you right quick. I'm just sitting, I'm looking, like I can't just walk up and admire my cypress trees. I'm looking down to make sure I have frame, and I go, oh, those trees are so pretty, and then I just stare at it like they're, but anyway, I digress. So this is the starting of my little pod collection. They are a little bit like the same thing that you'll see on cypress, that they'll make these little green, they almost look like premature pine cones, but and they can even fall while still green. But then when they dry out, they turn into this, and they'll break down into smaller and smaller and smaller bits. But if I were to take one of those and drop it, you would see what looks like dozens of little, maybe half the size of rice flakes. That would be them. In fact, can you see that? That's probably them for where these have been up here. I just transferred, this had a bunch of them in it, and I just transferred them over. So this is probably, that is probably the seeds. Now, there's several methods for germinating seeds in the 70s. Back in the 70s, when we were doing all kinds of crazy shenanigans, we would take paper towels and wet them and put seeds on them, and then fold the paper towel over and wet that top layer, and then check it every day to see when they shoot a root out. Now, later we learned what was wrong with that, and that is the microscopic fibers that will that help to anchor the spike that will later become the taproot. Those guys try to anchor the root in to hold it in place, so that whenever it tries to shoot straight up and go for the sky, that it doesn't inadvertently bore itself further into the ground. And if you pull one up from a paper towel after they've already sprouted, you're ripping all of those little things off by the roots. So what we had learned in amendment of that was to take a cup of water, drop your seeds in a cup of water. In 12 hours, anything that's floating, touch it on the top and make sure it just didn't have a little air bubble stuck to it. And in 24 hours, anything that's floating is bad and everything else gets planted. These, you saw those little specks. I would not feel confident about depositing those little specks in a glass of water and then trying to harvest the sinkers. I think that even though I would personally prefer the sink or swim method, that I think the paper towel method will probably be what I go with these. And the method for them otherwise would work like this. You take a plate and you put a paper towel in it and you lay out the seeds, and then you place another paper towel over the top of that, and you dampen both, but you don't like let the whole thing just sit in deep water, right? And then you place that in the refrigerator. I've heard people say the freezer. I haven't heard people say the freezer for over 24 hours, but I would be a little reluctant to do that. We don't get a lot of freezing days here in California, and if they needed freezing temperatures to grow, I find it hard to believe that they would ever germinate. And even then, the germination rate is not said to be that high. Figures as low as 5 to 20% for coastal redwoods. But to finish out this little story, my intention is the last couple of days I've been shopping for a table. It has to fit in with what I'm doing. It can't fit in with what I'm doing so that it looks like it's a copy. It needs to be something on its own, but it needs to be its own thing. It needs to be a standalone thing. It needs to be fairly tall so that our distance from the light won't be too great. And it needs to be big enough for all of my show hens, and then for my starters will all be in this area. And that is what is going to be the next project. And between now and then, I intend to start a round of coastal redwoods, and hopefully by the time I get around to that, I will have come up with some of my local acorns too. And the idea is I just want to plant a couple of little, I just want to plant an acorn in the same little bonsai pot that I keep transplanting plants into, and see if I can get one that wants to call that home. So this is a little short about that. Another quick look at our coastal oak, and I would use the words back to thriving. It's like, yeah, no, we had a little thing a minute ago, but it's all cool now. And I would say about the same for our Japanese black pine, and our cypress trees are just absolutely voguing right now. I mean, those guys are just like pulling the old look at me, look at me, look at me. And I'm really happy that things didn't look very wilted. Everything got watered and got kept watered and everything, but with our heat the way it has been the last couple of days, sometimes things can have adequate amount of water and they still look wilty. It's like, I'm sorry. I've sprayed a little coolant on your clay or ceramic pot. I've done about all I can do. I hope you stay okay. So that's the name of that tune. We had an earthquake that I forgot to mention 2 days ago. It was such a life-altering event that 2 hours later, when I did my YouTube video, I completely forgot to mention it. But that was a good reminder that I feel really good about my idea of taking everything down off of the white part of the rail. It wasn't anything. It was just a little rocker, a 3.7 or something. But oddly enough, the pinpointed area for that, according to my computer, was the very center of the bay, just a little bit to the left of us. You know, we were probably the closest landmass to anybody of that. And it was just a little gentle, like if you were sitting in the top of a tree, kind of a little rocky motion. Had there been anybody to write home to, it would not have been anything to write home about. But, so yeah, this is our evening, kind of a hot, smoky fall evening on our bonsai balcony. Like and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching.